today. My name is Ashley Transaglia, and I'm the account manager for the New Jersey region here at Carbon Black. And I want to start off by thanking the Vandis team for helping us set up this webinar today. I've been working with Vandis for a few months now. It's been an absolute pleasure. Their knowledge of security and their consultative approach to their customers is really top-notch, which I'm sure most of you already know on the line today. But also with me today is my technical engineer, Catherine, and she'll be giving the technical deep dive into our solution.
Good morning.
So I'd like to kick this off by giving an overview as to what ransomware is, why it's been so effective, and how our solution is able to stop it. I'll then pass it over to Catherine, who will kick off a zero-day malware attack. And if anyone has any questions, we're going to have some time at the end that we can certainly run through all those questions and answers within the last 10-15 minutes of the overview. So to get started, bear with me one moment. All right, sorry, a little technical difficulty there, but if this picture looks familiar to you, you're well aware what ransomware is. And if you haven't seen this picture before and your company isn't being proactive, expect to see this sometime in the near future. Ransomware is malware used to essentially kidnap your data. It's an exploit in which the attacker encrypts the victim's data and demands payment for the decryption key. So typically that's in a Bitcoin. And once you pay the ransom, hackers do live up to their word and decrypt your files. However, this is only a temporary solution. And I think we all know criminals aren't nice people. If they were successful getting into your environment once, you can bet they'll do it again. And I don't think I've spoken to anyone that paid the ransom and said they were left alone. Not everyone does pay the ransom. A lot of folks reimage machines, restore it to an earlier backup, which I'm sure a lot of you on this call do now. And for a short period of time, this tactic worked. Unfortunately, the hackers are smart, and they know this is the go-to backup plan. And the newer variants polymorph and spread across your environment, and they stay dormant for days, weeks, and sometimes months. As the end user, you think the problem is resolved until the Friday before Labor Day weekend comes and your entire environment is locked down again. The point here, guys, is if you haven't found where the holes in your boat are, water keeps coming in. And I talk to a lot of accounts, as account manager, and my initial phone calls with organizations that I speak to is really been focused around ransomware. And, I'm talking to hedge funds, healthcare industry, retail, all the way down to little elementary schools, and we're really seeing this ransomware affect, all verticals, all size organizations. And ransomware right now is the hottest topic in cybersecurity. For hackers, it might as well be, the gold rush for the 21st century. When we focus on this timeline, things have really revved up in the past few quarters. In 2015, there were 28 new variants of ransomware. And in the first quarter of 2016, we already have 14. So that's literally half the amount in this past quarter than last year's entire number. And one of the newer strands that we don't have listed on the timeline is called Jigsaw. Just to show you how creative these guys are getting, the newest ransomware came out in the end of March, early April, and it's causing mayhem through industries. Not only does ransomware encrypt files, but it threatens users with a countdown. So it's based off of that horror movie Saw, and I think you saw the previous screen, but as some of you might recognize that character. But instead of just locking down your files, it's giving you a deadline to pay. So this variant will delete random files every hour until you pay, and if you don't pay within 72 hours, all of your files will be deleted. So really, why are traditional solutions stopping ransomware? Why aren't traditional solutions stopping ransomware? And if you have antivirus solutions, you're really only scanning for that malware that has signatures. And these ransomware attacks are zero-day attacks, which means they don't have signatures yet. When the AV tool does eventually develop a signature, another variant is created, so you're constantly playing catch-up. And the problem with that is that, it's an advanced problem, and everyone's feeling the effects. And you can't rely on a company that's new to the space. And guys, I'm sure you know there's a lot of noise in the endpoint space for endpoint solutions, and a lot of companies are claiming they stopped these ransomware threats. But the biggest differentiator between us and all of the other security companies you might hear from is we're the industry leaders in the space, and it's because we've been doing it the longest. And here's the data to back it up, but I don't want you to take my word for it. These are stats from IDC and SANS Institute. And IDC recently released a report stating we hold the largest market share in the endpoint segment, nearly 3 times our closest competitor. We've been perfecting our approach since 2002. And back 10 years ago, we were able to stop CryptoLocker before companies were even concerned about it. Also, most importantly, are our partnerships that we've built out over these last 10 plus years. We are trusted by some of the biggest brands and companies in the world, and we leverage collective defense by our 10,000 practitioners or users of our solution. And each user passes back what they're learning for all Carbon Black customers to be able to learn from. Some of the strongest security experts use our tool, and you'll get to take advantage of that if you do become a customer of Carbon Black. So before we dive into the live attack, I'd like to talk about the architecture and how we're set up. We're 2 products, 2 agents, protection and incident response, that work hand in hand to cover the complete security lifecycle. Both speak back to a back-end server for continuous and centralized recording, and this is unique to our product, and it's essential to maintaining, collecting all security relevant data without impacting your users or your productivity. And this is how we're able to stay extremely lightweight and use less than 1% daily CPU. And because we're an agent on the endpoint, we're protecting both the on and off network users. And a lot of the accounts I speak to as well, these attacks are coming from one of their employees working remote or traveling for work. When they come back, connect to the server or connect to the network, that's where they're seeing these attacks come through. So we're able to protect those remote users as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the live portion. And the focus of Carbon Black protection is to reduce your attack surface. So we're at the kernel level, and we're filtering out trusted executions. So only trusted, so it's trust-based and policy-driven. So only trusted software, good files, good executions run, and anything else loses its ability to execute. And we're really taking that exact approach, opposite approach of AV, because in today's world, you really can't know what's bad ahead of time. So Carbon Black protection, that's plan A. Don't get breached, don't have an incident. And we're going to give you the best tool on the market to do so. But the reason we merged with Carbon Black response and have incident response is because you can't rely on plan A and you always need that plan B. So Carbon Black response is the most complete endpoint detection and response solution available to SOC and IR teams. It's easy to deploy with minimum admin effort, and it continuously records all endpoint activity. It centralizes and correlates all that data, and it reveals a complete kill chain that pinpoints the attacker's root cause so you can contain, ban, and remediate threats as they're detected. And everything we do is powered by our Collective Defense Cloud, which will give you context to everything in your environment. So our intel provides real-time threat detection, reputation, and attack classification services to help you respond and ban attacks before a breach occurs. It's based on intel from millions of endpoints and global network of intelligent partnerships, and it goes beyond IOC-based threat intelligence to identify attackers' unique patterns. So kind of to talk about what you're going to see in the demo, I do want to hone in a little bit more on protection. So if you focus on that dial on the bottom of middle of the screen, it really paints the perfect picture of our customized prevention. So you can tune it up or down based on different users and user groups. And in low enforcement, we're not blocking anything. We're simply getting eyes and ears everywhere and getting a full file inventory of everything living and breathing in your environment. And with that file inventory, our professional service team helps you craft policies to define trust for your users with the goal of eventually tuning it up to high enforcement and only letting those good files run. And everything else will get blocked by default. And the reason I bring this up is because we are not a plug-and-play solution, and we're very customizable. And so the audience and you guys can understand why this attack's about to go through and why it's allowed to happen in the live portion is because we're going to leave a machine in low enforcement to let that attack go through. And when that attacker tries to move to the machine or the server in high enforcement, you're going to see how we're able to block that execution. And this is just a quick use case that I did want to put up, but if you go to our website, this one is based on application control and specific to ransomware, but there's lots of different use cases, whether it be different verticals or different attacks that we're seeing on our website. So certainly you can go on there and check it out. This is from oil and gas manufacturer with 64,000 employees, 30,000 workstations, and 4,000 servers. And they needed the highest form of protection against ransomware, which is application control. So the value they got from Carbon Black was the machines with Carbon Black protection, which were 240 machines, they had 0 issues. And the machines without Carbon Black protection, their hardware had to be replaced. And they were reducing re-imaging from 275 machines a month to 0. And that's really where we're seeing the value, not just in giving you the best security and stopping these advanced threats, but because we're not giving you that best protection, we're seeing a lot of time saved with re-imaging, alerts, chasing alerts, and so forth. So we can certainly, you'll see how in the live portion, how we can speak to that, but we're really going to focus it on the crypto locker attacks. And just real quick, like I said, we are going to focus on stopping ransomware, but I did want to put the slide up real quick to just show other use cases that we could speak to. And by the nature of our approach, yes, it stops crypto locker, but here's the other use cases. So at the end, please reach out, and we can certainly dive a little deeper into each one of these at a later date. So now I'll hand it over to Catherine to really bring everything that I say to life in a live attack. All right.
Sounds good, Steph. Presenter mode.
Yep, no problem, Kath. I'm going to put you in right now.
Thank you so much.
You should have just got a notification.
I did. This is perfect. Let's see here. We'll just show the screen. And we're in business. Excellent. So we'll just...
Catherine, if you don't mind, before we get started, just had one question from attendee typed into the chat window. If you don't mind answering it real fast, or Ashley. The question is, will they be able to replace existing tools, or is this an additional tool, for example, to replace McAfee and SEP or Sophos?
Yeah, so basically what happens is, when it comes to traditional antivirus solutions like McAfee or your Symantec, we can replace it if you'd like to. However, we do see some of our customers run our solutions alongside antivirus. But as you'll see when we go through our demonstration, if you get your machines up into high enforcement, we are certified antivirus replacement. But some people like to take a layered approach. That's perfectly fine with us. So short answer, you can replace it if you'd like. You can run it alongside antivirus if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ashley.
Excellent. Let's see here. So with Carbon Black protection and Carbon Black response, I like to just start things out by doing a quick walkthrough of the 4 virtual machines in my demo environment that we'll be looking at today. So for our demo, we'll see down at our bottom left-hand corner, this guy is going to be our Carbon Black protection hosting server, and that's going to be up in our high enforcement security posture. So like I highlighted, with high enforcement, this is that antivirus protection level. High enforcement is default deny. Anything not explicitly trusted by you to run gets blocked by default. We'll also see up at our top right-hand corner our end user's machine, and this guy we're putting in our low enforcement security posture. So with low enforcement, this is where we want to start you out day one just to get the ball rolling. Start with visibility, start with the auditing, but where it is used as a starting point, more reactive by nature. It doesn't prevent items from executing unless they've been blacklisted ahead of time. But we're specifically putting our end user in a very low state of enforcement just because we want something to get in on one of our machines so we can investigate it over on the response side. We'll see our sysadmin's machine below that at our bottom right. This is where we'll see our email alerts roll in, get into our consoles. And we'll see we have an attacker's machine up at our top left. This guy's running Kali Linux, and we'll see him use Metasploit to push an attack out onto us through a phishing email. So at this point, we'll kick off an attack and talk about how that applies to our products. So we'll take a look at our end user's machine, and we have a phishing email up. So, I'm sure everyone that's on this call has had some form of experience with these. I'm going to play that end user role. We'll click on that download link. A lot of time when ransomware gets into the environment, your users are going to be your weakest link. They're so click happy. We'll go ahead, we'll save this. We'll open this, and now I'm met with a not too pleasant looking PDF on bypassing antivirus scanners. So this doesn't look like a particularly promising start to a Tuesday, but we'll roll out here, and we'll notice some changes taking place across our environment as a result of my click happiness. So most notably from our attackers' perspective, we're going to see the Metasploit window getting pretty active. Attackers, they're not here to waste time. They're cutting right to the chase. They're taking advantage, rooting around our system right now. We'll also roll out, start to see some email alerts roll in on the sysadmin side, letting us know we have some abnormal activity taking place. And over on our high enforcement machine, we see here we have a blocked unapproved executable message, letting us know something tried to run over here that we proactively prevented. So just to set the stage for when we get into our consoles, what I'm going to do real briefly is just step on over to our attacker's seat. We'll just step through what our guide's been up to. So, our end user, he's in low enforcement. He clicked on that download link and executed that payload, and our attacker started firing off commands. So he escalates his privileges of get system. He's going to kill off your antivirus. Key user pulled up a list of the accounts he can compromise, and we'll see that displayed out. But the bottom line here is he's going to come in on our end user's machine. He's going to fire off some PowerShell scripts, but he's not after just that one machine. Attackers, they're not after one machine. CryptoLocker's not after one machine. It wants to spread, get all of your endpoints. So he's in on this one machine, but he's going to want to look for a route to spread. And he'll find a route to do so right here, where he sees a network attached drive that's hosted on our server. So he's going to try to use this as a pipeline to jump from our low enforcement end user's machine over onto our high enforcement server right here. But the difference here is he tries to jump, he tries to spread. We're in high enforcement, that default deny stance. So when that payload hits us, we don't recognize it. We prevent that malicious execution from occurring right off the bat. That's why we have our block message right here. So when we're talking about taking the positive approach to security, putting your machines up in high enforcement like we see right here, this is what's going to consistently keep you safe from ransomware, CryptoLocker, zero-day attacks. Because to us, it could be a spray and pray type email campaign. It could be an advanced targeted threat. Doesn't matter. That file doesn't meet your trusted to run rules and policies. We never give it the opportunity to execute in the first place. So this is what we'd be seeing from the end user's perspective. Tries to run, we don't trust it, we get a block message. Let's take a look at how things are going to look from an admin's perspective. So we'll step on over here. Now we'd like to start with protection. So we'll take a look at the old Bit9 logo, carbon black protection, and this is just letting us know we had that execution block take place on our server. We'll click here on our alert details and get some more information going. We'll pop right on over here. And what we have in front of us right here in our console is going to be our event stream. So we always like to start with visibility, and the event stream is just an audit trail of activity taking place across our environment. So a lot of times we'll see this used for, like I said, visibility, also great for compliance initiatives if you have that going forward. But right now, we'll just use this to reconstruct what we saw from our attacker's perspective and, confirm what was going on from his side of the table. So we'll roll on down through here and take a look at our audit trail and see, initially where our new unapproved file comes into our environment. That's on our low enforcement machine, and our event guide PDF is that file in question. Now, we'll also see where our attacker hit off Q user, injects into LSAS. We're going to see move to the recycle bin. We see those PowerShell scripts. So he's not too creative here, but what we want to pay attention to is the overall difference in activity we see take place with our low enforcement machine versus what we're seeing with our high enforcement machine right here. So with low enforcement, again, this is where we want to start you out right day one, start with visibility. So we start reactive while we're tuning out those rules and policies, and then once we've got that baseline established, we can bump you up into high enforcement. So when something new and unapproved drops onto your endpoint, first of all, we have eyes on it, so we get the visibility, and second of all, we don't trust it, it's unknown, we'll block that, we'll notify you accordingly. So we're definitely of the mindset of focusing more on the known good in your environment and working from there. But at this point, I like to transition on over to our software rules section, and we'll get into how we can define some rules and policies to sculpt out what is actually trusted to run in your environment. Let's head on over here. So we'll step on over to our software rules, and this is really where we're going to see that dynamic approach to application control shape out for you guys. So if you want to get up into high enforcement, take care of those 0 days, take care of ransomware, you need to have options. You need to have a flexible approach, and we've got lots of choices here. So when it comes to vectors of trust, we can look at content like updaters, publishers. We can look at directories, nice custom rule section. This is great for getting some extra controls. Like file integrity control, tracking what's going on around those sensitive documents. And our reputation tab down at the end, this is going to be great for giving you some extra flexibility. We can use this to leverage some threat intelligence. I'll get into that in more detail as we move on. Let's go ahead and just get some context into this. I always like to highlight our publishers tab. This is great for taking some broad strokes right out of the gate. A lot of times we'll see like your Microsoft applications addressed through here. Your Microsoft, a lot of products, they've got a lot of updates that happen quite frequently, and we want to make sure that when we're sculpting out these rules and policies, we're future-proofing your environment. So for example, Microsoft, we can account for all their applications, all those updates that are going to come out in the future by addressing Microsoft as a trusted publisher. When you dial that in, all of those updates that come out down the line, they get to run no problem just based on their certificate we verify through VeriSign. That's one approach if you want to get more of a flexible option going. Similar concept with trusted updaters. Dial in your one-off applications like your Chromes, your Javas. If you guys utilize a patch management solution like an SCCM or an Alturas, maybe a Big Fix, dial that in as well. Keep pushing out updates to those same tools, those same processes you have in place, and use that to drive automation from our side of the table. So when we're talking about big picture here, getting this baseline established for you guys in the first place, we want to make sure that we're working with applications that you have in your environment. So when we're compiling this inventory, we're going to get that really from the applications that are already in your environment. When we deploy our Carbon Black Protection Agent onto your endpoints, first thing it does is an initialization crawl. Gets an inventory of what you've already got going on out there, streamlines that into a single pane of glass. From there, our professional services team will work with you to pick out what you want, what you'd like to run in your environment, pick out, maybe we dug some skeletons out of the closet, maybe we find some malware. We'll account for all of that, get you up into the posture you want to be in, so when we disengage, we've done the heavy lifting, we've done the tuning, and you get that minimal admin overhead going forward. Now, just getting into some other use cases, a lot of times with CryptoLocker, it's going after sensitive documents. So when CryptoLocker gets in and encrypts your files, you're concerned that you're losing sensitive data, content that you've worked really hard on. And so, when we're talking about getting some extra layers of protection going, a lot of times we can address that and get some extra control using file integrity control. So what we can do here is set up control rules around those sensitive documents, around your sensitive directories. So for example, I have right here a control rule set up. That's going to block writes from happening to files that exist on our path right here, so customer-sensitive data. Now we can go ahead and just show this example, head on over to our end user's machine, take a look at our sensitive data folder. And so I'm allowed to look at this file, but I'm not allowed to modify it. So, let's say I was CryptoLocker, I was coming in here, I was trying to rename stuff, trying to encrypt stuff, we'll just call it Bob. We're going to get met with a block message. So, if someone comes in, they're trying to touch stuff they don't have access to, they're trying to modify, trying to encrypt stuff that they don't have access to, they get met with a block message. So this is just a great way to give you some extra control, give you extra visibility into what's going on in the endpoint, and reduce the overall attack surface. So that's what's going on there. And just getting back to our console, last item I like to touch on from a protection perspective is our reputation tab. So when it comes to application control, there's always going to be that one end user that wants to run something we haven't accounted for. And when that happens, we want to make sure we have a backup plan in place. We can account for that. So what we can do here is, someone tries to run something, we haven't accounted for it. We can take that file, run it through our Carbon Black Software Reputation Service Cloud, and get a trust score rating. So when we run something through our cloud, and I just have a reputation report on Notepad for reference. We'll run something through our cloud, get a trust score rating. You go 0 through 10. And that's based off of a variety of criteria here. So we will look at scan results from virus total, run it through there, check it against National Vulnerability Database. You'll look at where it's coming from Pirate Bay, probably not something you want going in your environment. And then, certificates, how often it's being seen, sculpt out that well-rounded score. We can use that to drive automation over, over in the console. So like maybe you want to let some of your users install anything with rating of 8 or higher. Great option for you to still maintain a high level of control while giving your end users the flexibility they might need to go about their day-to-day business. So, when it comes to upfront protection, making sure you're safe from zero-day, safe from crypto, safe from ransomware, really putting your machines up in high enforcement is going to be your best bet. With that being said, we've also got our Carbon Black Response application that's going to be a great second layer of defense. So at this point, we'll go ahead, we'll transition on over to Carbon Black Response and talk about how we can supplement protection with incident detection, incident response capabilities. See here, so we'll go back to our email and we will take a look at our watch list hit that was triggered off as a result of that PDF we downloaded. So we'll click on our link right here and take us into our console. And so, first things first, if something gets when something gets past your first layer of defense, you want to make sure you're notified as quickly as possible. That's where our watch lists come into play. So in terms of things you'd like to be alerted on, we want to make sure that we're pivoting this, we're targeting this towards your organization's concerns. So, maybe you're concerned about network connections outside of the country. Maybe you're concerned about probably activity surrounding CryptoLocker. We have really strong watch lists we can enable. Be on the lookout for behavior generally associated with the newer variants. So, activity associated with crypto on Max, activity associated with, Locky, with Jigsaw, those newer variants. Make sure you get some extra eyes and ears out there. Great to just get an extra layer of protection going. So once we're alerted that something strange is going on, like we have right here, our event guide PDF was flagged as suspicious, we can go ahead, click on that event, and get some more context going. So we'll pop that open. And so, if something gets passed and you want to go ahead, you want to dig into it, see where it came in from, see what happened once it hit the endpoint. Process analysis tree that we're looking at right here, this is going to be your go-to guy. We can use our tree right here to roll back the tape, see where something came in from, see, find that point of entry, and also click and fill it out forwards, see what happened once it hit the endpoint and started spreading. So when you're finished here, you're going to get that full end-to-end picture of what took place on your endpoint. Now let's go ahead and just start to peel through here. I mean, if you just want to get a sense real quick of what's going on in the endpoint. We got notified PDF is behaving strangely. Let's go ahead and just get some context here. So we've got a PDF, and we'll notice up top we have host and executing user information. So we're going to see user 10. He was our original victim. He downloaded our PDF. But we're also going to go over here. We move through to Notepad, and this is looking pretty suspicious right off the gate. I mean, PDFs, they shouldn't be spawning Notepad execution. You shouldn't need to escalate to admin to execute out of Notepad. And then beyond that, I mean, from here we've got command scripts, we've got PowerShell scripts. This isn't looking right. We've got registry edits going on. So we're able to see real quickly that something strange is going on. We want to respond to it. Now, let's just say you're going through an investigation and you see something similar to CryptoLocker. So you're walking through this and you see, this is an instance of CryptoLocker. This has hit your endpoint. You need to respond to that. If crypto hits one of your machines, that's not ideal, but we want to make sure we contain it. We want to make sure we keep it a small problem and not a giant problem. So if you see something, associated with CryptoLocker, you see something like ransomware in your environment, I mean, first thing you might want to do in terms of actions you could take, go ahead and ban the hash value associated with that variant. Make sure it can't spread, can't hit any of your other endpoints. As well, whenever you ban a hash value associated with, with an item, with a file, that makes sure that, number one, it can't spread, and number two, it'll pull up a full list of all the additional endpoints that hash has been observed on. So when you're going through your cleanup process, you're going to get a sense real quickly, did it hit 5 machines, has it hit 50 machines? See the scope of the attack real quickly. We've also got options to isolate the endpoint, and especially with crypto, isolation is definitely a great feature. When we click isolate host, what we're going to do here is contain that endpoint by shimming the network stack. Make sure that machine can't speak to the internet, can't speak to its peers. Great option for you to buy yourself some time, do your cleanup, do your investigation, while making sure it doesn't spread and become a bigger problem. And these response options can absolutely be automated. When a watch list hit gets triggered off, let's say a watch list on the lookout for crypto behavior, you can automatically, again, the hash value associated with it, automatically isolate the endpoint. So when you're getting those alerts, we've taken those manual steps for you, and you can focus more big picture how you want to respond. Now let's go ahead and we'll start to peel back through here. We're going to want to see, where does this PDF come in from? How do we get into our environment in the first place? So we'll start to go back through. We'll go back through commands. We'll go back through Adobe. And, with us, we're really focused on showing you those bigger problems in your environment. How was this able to execute in the first place? And when we're going back through and land on Adobe, we're going to get some hints over to our right from our alliance feeds that something strange is going on. So our alliance feeds, taking information from the threat feeds to give you access to, we can go ahead and just pop open, let's say like our report from our National Vulnerability Database, get some more context into what's going on here. Now this report is just letting us know that the version of Adobe we're looking at has a pretty big security gap in it, allows attackers to execute code through our application. So, right here real quickly, we're able to identify, first of all, we've got a vulnerable version of Adobe in our environment. We're going to want to account for that going forward. And, if we do that, we account for that vulnerable version, make sure it can't run in our environment anymore, we'll see a reduction in repeat type attacks going forward. Ashley touched on earlier. If you get hit with crypto once, you're probably getting hit 3, 4, 5 times because those guys are lazy. They want to come in through those same front doors repeatedly. And when you close those doors, you close those windows, they have to work harder. They get tired. They want to go pick on someone their own size. And just touch on some of the other threat feeds to give you access to. There's a whole bunch. Some are definitely more focused towards known ransomware like VirusTool. That's going to let you know if anything known pops up in your environment. We have our own feeds that we put out through Carbon Black to be on the lookout for reputation levels, advanced threat indicators. We've got a partnership with Facebook rather with our threat exchange. Great to be leveraging all Facebook security teams information, tie-ins with Alien Vault. So, whether you're just getting started, you're looking to get some extra context, get some visibility, or you're maybe looking to actively threat hunt, we want to make sure that you get the defense in depth approach, you get the defense in depth options right out of the gate with us. So we've got choices here. And just going back to our tree, just continuing to peel back through here, we want to make sure we get to that full point of origin. We'll continue to click back. We want to see where this came in from. And when we land on Thunderbird, we're going to get that full kill chain exposed out in front of us. So, what I like to focus on here when we get to the end is, this is going to help you identify who are your problem children end users. Which end users should definitely be up in high enforcement, should not have admin rights, should be a little bit more locked down. Here it looks like user 10 was getting a little click happy over in Thunderbird. And this will also help you understand, where are attacks coming in from? Is crypto coming in from your email? Is crypto coming in from your USB devices? We'll show you those point of entries so you can address that going forward. And then the last thing I like to focus on here in terms of overall response is, long term, we identified a vulnerable version of Adobe. We identified a not so nice PDF. So we can account for that going forward, but short term, you might still be concerned your end users got that PDF open. They might still be utilizing that version of Adobe. Right now in real time, you just don't want that going on in your environment. If you ever have an incident like crypto or just something unknown, you want to respond to it quickly, you want to account for it, we do have an option to do so right here with our Go Live feature. So what Go Live allows us to do is actually reach out to our end user's machine from a command line within our console. And we have a bunch of commands built in specifically to help with response. It's also fully functional command line if you guys want to get a bit more creative. But just for example, something we could do here, I could go ahead, list out the processes running on our endpoint, see if Adobe is still active and open. If it is, which we'll notice it is right here, we can go ahead and kill that off. So let's just go ahead, we can kill that off real quick. Let's see, 1892, we'll just take note of that pin. Kill that off, and we can go ahead, roll out here, and that's been all buttoned up on our end user's machine. So we killed off that process, bought ourselves some time to focus more big picture what we want to do on the protection side. And so really with response, we want to make sure we give you the visibility you need, we give you the response features you need, to respond to stuff that gets in, so you can use that to grow and strengthen yourself over on the proactive prevention side of things. So, when you're looking for upfront protection, you're looking for the upfront control. Carbon black protection is definitely going to protect you from 0 days, protect you from crypto lock or ransomware when you're up in high enforcement. We've also got response here to make sure anything that slips through the cracks, we've got you covered when it comes to visibility, comes to responding to incidents. So, with that being said, I'd be happy to take questions at this point, either for myself or for Ashley. Those have come in. Yep.
I'm going to unmute everyone to see if we have any questions here.
How's the pricing for it as compared to existing solutions like SEP? Is it per node or?
So for our pricing model, it's subscription-based per endpoint license, and for carbon black protection, there are different SKUs for workstations, desktop, laptop servers versus, desktop, laptops versus servers. So we can certainly, if you want to reach out, we can have a conversation as to your environment based on, your different machines, and then we also do require professional services and training, and there is a cost, initial cost with that as well.
So we're currently, we have a solution in place, and we've been testing with the malware bites and other anomalies. Is there a way we can do a period of proof of concept with your product deployed in our environment?
Yep, absolutely. We do proof of concept for both solution protection and response, and certainly recommend doing it hand in hand with other tools that you are evaluating as well. If you want to reach out after to myself or Joe, we can set you up with the correct account manager to kind of kickstart that POC.
I certainly will. I think it makes sense to do that. So after the meeting, we can arrange for that.
Yes,
yeah,
certainly.
That's perfect. I'll reach out to you and we'll get that going. That's not a problem. Ashley, Catherine, we also have another question in relation to WebSense. They want to know, will it work alongside WebSense, or would it be better to replace WebSense?
Yeah, so in terms of working alongside WebSense, I've seen people run off alongside WebSense perfectly fine in the past, as well as currently. Honestly, it just depends on what you're trying to get done. If you're concerned about stuff coming in through the web, you want to have that extra layer, that's great. But also, bear in mind, if you put your machines in high enforcement, you might not necessarily need WebSense. So it kind of depends on what approach you're trying to take. If you put machines in high enforcement, it doesn't matter what comes through your email, through the web, because once it hits the endpoint, we're concerned about execution. But with that in mind, some of our users want to put some of their endpoints in low enforcement, want to put them in medium enforcement, and would like to rely more heavily on the protection they get from an additional tool like WebSense. So depending on the end posture you want to be in with protection, you can remove WebSense or you can keep it, depending on what you like.
All right. Thank you very much for that response. Are there any other questions at this time? All right, it looks like that's all the questions we have for today. Ashley and Catherine, thank you so much for your time in that presentation. It was a great job, very informative. As far as the attendees go, we will be reaching out to see if you have any other questions or if you'd like any more one-on-one follow-up. And with that being said, I'd like to say have a great day to everyone, and we will speak to you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.